All right, what's going on, D-Bags? Hope you guys are doing well. We're back here with another episode of the dtalks podcast. I'm your host, Darren Rita. Feel free to connect with me at any of the links down below. And if you're new here and you enjoy music, podcasts, comedy, do consider subscribing because we got a whole lot of that going on around here. Now, before I can get into my show today and introduce you guys to my guest this week, I got to talk to you guys a little bit about car insurance. These days, it seems as if we're able to do more and more from home. So while you're at home, why aren't you saving money on your car insurance? Your hometown agency, Kenosha Auto Insurance, has specialized for years, literal years, in simple, hassle-free car insurance using the latest in touch-free technology to help you and your family get the best rates. So what are you waiting for? Give them a call today at 262-448-4141. That's 448-4141. The website's kenoshains.com. It's on the screen right now. It's linked down below. One last time, that's 262-448-4141. Give them a call. Tell them Rita dtalks sent you. The worst that could happen is you will get the best rates. Now, with all that good stuff out of the way, I am pumped to be sitting down with my guest this week. He is the captain of Eye of Overview Academy and is helping people to be more in tune with their spiritual side over on TikTok, where he's amassed 70,000 followers and counting. Let's give a wet detox welcome to Captain LawSolace. He's here. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you
Okay,
did.
there we go. I practiced him before we went live, but I got it, man. Thank you for being here, dude. I really appreciate it.
Yo, real fast, before we get into anything,
Yeah.
let me ask you something. What's the red and black? I'm not red and black, but yellow and black. Is that your logo?
That's the logo. That's the brand.
Listen here. I think I dreamed about being here last night.
Really?
Like, yeah. So, back in North Carolina, we took a vacation, like a family vacation, and I had a dream that I was in the water and there was two snakes, and they was coming at me, right? And one of them bit me.
Okay.
And instead of me like reacting to anything, I said, I'm gonna take the bite. And I want to like on some straight Spider-Man shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna just take it in.
Hopefully, it gives me powers. Who
Yeah.
knows?
So I'm just sitting there. A couple days later, I'm like, that felt like a transformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last night, I had a dream that I was like in the cave, like with my son, and there was a snake right here, and the snake was black with a yellow stripe.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay. So I go and get my son. So we pull back more rocks, and there's nothing but black snakes with yellow stripe, and then that one snake that bit me from last
However
week.
long.
Yeah,
Okay.
and in there, I literally saw myself at a table, and I had my hat on. I didn't even know like your colors were like yellow and black.
Yeah. Does that mean that we're gonna snake you and stuff? Is that like we're bad? Are we the bad guys?
So actually,
Or-
snakes in spirituality, it means
Yeah.
health.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because everything else, it's always depicted. I shouldn't say everything. Religious shit
Uh-huh.
will always like base it in some sort of evil.
Well, of course, because they want to
They
switch
wanna-
the way you think about it.
Yeah.
But think about what is it? Blue Cross, Blue Shield.
Yeah.
It's two snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, snake is a symbol of healing. In
God.
all type of like ancient spirituality, a snake is a symbol of healing.
Wow.
Even there's a energy called like the Kundalini energy that goes up through your chakras, and it's represented as two snakes weaving until it connects to your to your third eye.
Really?
Yeah.
So good things then. by seeing this thing.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Very cool. What kind of energy did you say that was?
I see. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but Kundalini.
Okay. And that does what?
So it's I'm not 100%
Mhm.
in the field of like understanding Kundalini,
Mhm.
but it's like, so we have these energy centers within our body that are called chakras. You
Yeah.
have a crown chakra, which connects you to the oneness of everything. You have your third eye, which is like right above your, like right in between your brows.
Yeah.
And this connects to like your intuition, like your spiritual gifts, like psychics and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have your throat chakra, and this is for communication, like it being able to express yourself.
Okay.
Then you go down to the heart chakra, which is in the center of your chest, and this is for like your self-love and your compassion, and like your love and compassion for like all living things.
Yeah.
Right below that, you have what's called your solar plexus, and this is for your personal power, your willpower, your ability to go out here and create your dreams.
Yeah.
Go out here and stay true to who you are.
Mm.
Right below that, like right above your navel, you have your which is called your sacral. This is where like sexuality and your emotions and your creativity come from.
Wow.
And
really?
then at the base of the spine, you have your root chakra, which connects to like fight or flight, or like your survival response.
Okay.
So like once you start to like meditate on that, and now I'm maybe paraphrasing, so someone who knows Kundalini more, they can give you more information.
Mhm.
But meditate on there, clearing your chakras. You bring this energy up, and it weaves until you you reach a certain enlightenment. Like it's like you're channeling your inner energy.
Yeah. You're kind of tapping into whatever pool of the universe that
Yeah.
like you were saying with the one.
Uh-huh.
If you can connect all of them, how do people you know, there are certain people that maybe are more creative than others, or are more analytical or like logical based thinkers. Are those things tied back? Can those be tied back to chakras and
Every fucking thing.
really?
When it comes to creativity, I like to say this: everybody is an artist. Everybody needs to see themselves as an artist. We're all dealing with life, and we're dealing with unique situations to us. You got to get creative to overcome these situations. Now, you may have been taught that you're not a creative person, or you think that creativity only comes in the form of making music, painting pictures. But no, get creative in life itself, because this is the real journey, and this is where things happen, where you need to be creative.
Yeah.
So I see everybody as artists and creative. And when it comes back to your chakras, these filter off every experience that you go through.
Yeah.
So like, let's say you may be in a job, or you may have been raised up, and as you was trying to speak your truth or speak yourself, you would get shut down.
Yeah.
So that would be blocking your throat chakra. So to the point where when it's time for you to speak up, when it's time for you to actually say something for yourself, you would not.
Yeah,
You get what I'm saying?
So you can have like underdevelopments in certain chakras, and
Yeah.
that could almost hurt you in the future.
Yeah, call it block chakras. And that's like when people, especially when it comes to childhood, they wasn't raised up with the knowledge of these chakras. So being raised however you was being raised, or being raised up in some type of environment that wasn't beneficial for your growth, would block those chakras from activating and being clear enough for you to stand up and be yourself.
Yeah, so I could see that too, where if you know, if maybe parental figures weren't super big on creative, or weren't really like facilitating an environment that was like, oh, we're excited when you do creative things, whatever, you might start to block that chakra just out of a survival instinct, because you want to be accepted by.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly.
How does one, like, if you grow up with some sort of, because that's the thing, I think a lot of people will go through their childhood, have some sort of trauma or whatever. Not everybody goes through childhood trauma, but if they do, some sort of chakra is going to get blocked. Something's going to be a little out of sync, or out of whack, or blocked, whatever. How can somebody go about maybe getting in tuned with that specific chakra that they're lacking in?
Okay, well, it doesn't even have to necessarily be when you were a child. Like, we can get our chakras blocked in everyday life now. Like, we live in life. The way we process things is what's going to block our chakras. So like, let's say you had a childhood trauma. You would have to go and look at that childhood trauma with your emotions.
Yeah.
But you would have to go and look at it and see where the levels of growth was in there. Like, a lot of people overcome their things because they'll learn from it, and then they will advocate for it or advocate against it, and say, I don't want anybody to ever experience what I experienced, so I'm going to advocate for this. And it's really about going in there, and which is kind of the hard part. It's like, you got to go in there and you have to forgive the entire situation. So like, for example, growing up with my dad, it was, let me pull up an example. So like, yeah, I'll speak from personal experience. It's been a couple times like growing up where I felt like I should express myself, but being in a like authoritarian home, it was more so, no, you do it my way and no way.
No questions asked.
Exactly. So when it got to the point of me getting older and going into like certain jobs or just being somewhere where I would perceive someone as an authority figure, I feel like my voice was hindered.
Yeah.
I feel like I couldn't speak, or whatever I said wasn't going to be valuable.
You were almost silencing yourself because
Yeah,
of that. Wow.
literally. So it took me getting to the point where I had to stop blaming him for it and have to take accountability for myself. Like, yeah, it's fucked up that I went through it. It's fucked up that I had to experience that. But at some point, I have to take accountability for it and say, well, whoever did this to me, it's my problem now, and I have to overcome it.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, forgiving that person, like, you got to be like, okay, I can't put this blame on you, because putting this blame on you is not helping me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
and I was going to say too, I mean, it sounds like in that situation specifically, and I'm sure maybe in others, that in doing something like that, you're taking the power back into your hands, as opposed to, this thing happened to me, I am a victim of this thing. It's like, no, I am a survivor of this thing, and what am I going to do to now get past it, as opposed to like, well, I hope this doesn't keep happening to me. You know?
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's an interesting mindset switch almost. How do you go about forgiving? Because that's something that I think is really difficult for a lot of people. How can you maybe don't have to go to this person and be like, I forgive you, but allow yourself to forgive, like you said, that whole situation. It's just that thing that happened. It doesn't mean that it's me. You know? How do you separate that?
So one thing, I read this book called The Four Agreements.
I just finished that book.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gee. So
just finished it like 2 weeks ago.
So I went on a silent retreat for 3 days.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, in New Mexico, in the mountains, and I listened to that book. Bro, the book fucking like changed my life. So in there, well, you know the four agreements. Number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Number 2 is don't assume. Number 3 is don't take things personally. And number 4 is do your best, no matter what. Like, if you're feeling sick one day, just show up and do whatever you can sick, and let that day be that day.
Yeah.
And the days you firing on all pistons, then you do that. Number 3, don't take things personally. Once I really sat there and meditate on that, and in the book, he said, if someone shot you in the face, you don't supposed to take that personal. And it's like, you hear that the first time, you like,
this man is crazy
I'm gonna take this shit personal. Like, why he shoot me? He could have shot anybody.
Yeah.
So once I sat there and I was like, how do I not take things personally? So everybody moves at their own accord. So like, let's say I have this dad. I'm not entitled, and no one's entitled to a good parent. You're only entitled to a parent. And let's take your dad, or let's say Uncle Jeff. You can look at Uncle Jeff and be like, Uncle Jeff is this guy. He's my favorite uncle. He's this, he's that. Uncle Jeff is Uncle Jeff. And if Uncle Jeff is a fucked up person, he gonna be a fucked up person as Uncle Jeff too.
Yeah.
So like, don't look at people, anybody, as higher ups, but also don't look at nobody as lower than you. Yeah, you look at them for just face value, and then you can literally analyze, oh, this is the type of person they are. And then once you realize the type of person they are, you go back to understanding that everybody is working off their own motives. Like, I could I don't believe in cheating, but like, I could see my partner, she would go and sleep with someone and say, well, you wasn't here, that's why I did it. No, you still did it because this is what you wanted to do. You did it because of that thing
inside of you.
Exactly. So everybody is moving at their own beat. Even if they're sacrificing themselves, it's because they want to sacrifice themselves for you. So I realized that everybody's working on their own beat. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people don't understand what the fuck they're doing. A lot of parents don't understand how fucking traumatized than they are really being.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they were traumatized.
And they didn't even know either, potentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really how it goes. That's how you end up breaking generational curses, is through knowledge and understanding what the fuck is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got whoopings as a kid. I don't whoop my children. And it's like, understanding is the way you're going to get through somebody. If you were being whooped, you're not understanding why you shouldn't do it. You just understand that you shouldn't do it. So when you get older, it's not like you're going to have the mental development to say, oh, I can see why we need to look at this a certain way. No, you're just going to try to whoop ass and continue the trend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and you, like you said, you don't know the why, where it's like, if this thing you messed up, right? And it could be a super specific situation and you got beat because of that.
Uh-huh.
In life, there are so many, I feel like there's so many parallels where, like, even maybe that little mess up of, like, you not keeping your room clean or something, let's say it was that, you know, like, and maybe you were supposed to just do it by a certain day. That could be, you know, the parallel to that is like meeting a deadline at work, whatever, you know, and it's like, you don't understand the importance of why you needed to meet the deadline. You just know that you need to meet the deadline, or if not, something really, really bad's going to happen to you. Now you're anxiety ridden and you're scared of deadlines, or you're scared of whatever. Maybe you self-destruct, or maybe you're looking around your shoulder like, when am I going to get beat? And not maybe physically anymore, but verbally or some other way.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
The why. That's really important how you put that. I like that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. For the record, I got whoopings. I don't think I got beat, but like, whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
However it is, but I don't agree with none of that. I always believe it's understanding. And if in a lot of violence and a lot of unnecessary violence and a lot of destructive things come from ignorance.
Yeah.
Comes from just pure ignorance. Like, if I knew better, I'd do better. But a lot of them don't even know better, and being locked into emotions, especially an adult, as they get older, you know, they get locked into their ways. There's no trying to get through to that person unless they want to take the route to get through to them. And if you sitting there trying to fight that uphill battle of trying to get through somebody who don't want to see themselves, you're wasting time. So that was another reason. It's just like, you know what? I'm going to let this go and focus on me. Now, when it comes to it, part of forgiving is, if this person or anybody is toxic in the life, like literally making you feel like less than yourself, absolutely do not keep them in your life. That's part of forgiving.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you need to forgive even verbally and say, hey, I forgive you for this, yada, whoop de whoop. Half the time, they don't even understand. Like,
they wouldn't even get why you're forgiving them. They'd be like,
exactly.
What are you talking
and
about?
think that, oh, well, yeah, well,
you crazy.
You should have.
Yeah.
Like, you should have forgave me. Like, yeah. So
no, it's crazy, and it's interesting that you read the 4 agreements too. And I think the third agreement is definitely probably at least in my opinion, the most powerful. It's also the hardest for me to put into action, for sure. Is the not, like, don't take shit personally, dude. Yeah. Because it, like you said, you know, people are just doing whatever they think is in their best interest, and we all think we're a little bit more important, and sometimes, in some cases, a lot more important than we actually are to other people, you know. And I think that the way you put it, with you're trying to see people at face value, as opposed to whatever, you know, you have in your head and those thoughts of what this person thinks about you or what they think about this other person. I think that it's a really powerful agreement in that book, and it's definitely been something that I've been trying to enact in my real life, but not easy. Easier said than done.
Most definitely. And when did you finish it?
Like 2 weeks ago.
All right, so
just started another book. So
one thing that I realized about the mind is, like, you'll read a book, and that's cool. Don't worry about this shit no more. It's going to be in your mind, and it sits there in like a pool, just marinating. And like the thoughts and everything you read is just sitting there in your mind. And over a while, you're going to process it and digest it. And then just be more aware of the way you feel and the way you move. And you'll start to see, like, oh, I'm applying it. It's like I'm upgraded. It's almost like when it's ready, it just kind of comes over you, and like now you moving and not taking things as personal as you would. One thing that really helps me with not taking things personal, and I love it, a lot of people don't understand it, but it's fucking gold. So like we had this studio, me and my partner, in the back of a tattoo shop, and the deal start like the situation started going haywire, and we end up leaving and shit. The dude tried to like go in, like get mad at me and shit, but I'm like, I'm whatever, I'm cool. I just brushed it off, talked to him, and I told him, I was like, I understand and agree with everything you're saying, because if I had the same principles as you, I'd do the same fucked up shit too.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Everybody,
okay.
So like, oh, I can see that, because everybody got their own perspective of life and how they're gonna move through life. Everybody is dealing with so many situations that they have to process, and it's gonna give them their own unique way of seeing life. I don't have to see that to understand that. Hell, I see life different than a lot of y'all. So if you had the principles I had, you see life the way I would too. So like, if I had the principles you had, I see life the way you do. I don't though.
Yeah.
So I can see you, but I don't need to be around you, because these are your principles and this is the type of person you are. So it's cool. I don't have to have any animosity. This is the way you see life.
Okay. That's an interesting way of putting it. That is hard to almost wrap your head around, to be like, hey man, it's okay that you're fucked up, man. The way you think of it, I get it. If my foundations were that fucked, I'd probably see it too. I'd be acting the same way. But no, that's tough, man. That's tough to sit there and take that, especially if someone is treating you poorly, and to still be able to like look at that and be like, I get it. I get whatever the hell you think is what you think, and that's fine. I'm gonna do this thing.
Because we're not gonna change them.
Yeah.
You're not going to change them at all. The best thing you can do is remove yourself from their presence. Interesting.
Have you ever had friends that maybe were in a rough patch, or maybe started going towards things that maybe you weren't about, or like they started even getting into drugs or things like that? How do you go about? Is that something where it's like you want to help these people because they're your friend or they've been a friend? Or is that where like you said, if they don't want to change, what can you do?
Yeah. So I think everybody is on their own journey. Like, I look at myself as more as a guide. Like, yo, I'm here if you need me. Like, yo, I don't think that, hey, if you should be doing that. Like, one of my goals is to work with people who has an addiction. Okay. Yeah, that's like one of my high goals to do. And but as far as someone choosing to do that and you don't want to get off of it, who am I to judge you or to bash you? I can only say, hey, I'm here if you need me, because a lot of times a lot of those people don't have nobody, because everybody has shut them off because of their use. I used to live in Ohio. I moved to Beloit in like 2009, and one of my old friends ended up on heroin, and he had reached out to me out of nowhere. I haven't talked to him in like 10 years. And he was like, yo, what's up? Like, I ain't seen you in a while. I hope everything is good. Like some real sentimental shit. He was like, I've been battling with this addiction for a while, and I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but I just want to reach out to you and say all of this. And I'm like, damn, that's real. So I was like, bro, I don't know what's going on like with your whole addiction or where you at, but I did just listen to something and read something, because like I'm always like studying like shit that just interests me. I find interest in things that don't interest me, because it just helps grow the mind. And sometimes I stumbled upon like some drug addiction and stuff. So I shared the information with him, and he was like, oh bro, thank you for sharing that with me. Feel free to share stuff like that with me all the time. And like I was feeling kind of self-conscious, like I don't know if I'm impeding or if I'm doing too much. Yeah. He ended up passing away from an overdose.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, man. That's
terrible. But at the same time, like I went to the funeral and surprised the family, like his brothers and his dad. He was like, oh shit, Dave loved you and all this stuff. And like I felt his, now this kind of gets kind of trippy. So I rode home with like his obituary. It was an 8-hour drive in a car with me. And I'm kind of deferring a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so end up riding with the car with me. And I'm like, well, you can ride home with me. Like, we can just chill. And so we end up getting into, like, doing a raffle for a car. Like, we raffled our car off. And his brother ended up buying a ticket, which is like the highest ball we had. It's like $189. And he ended up winning it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
So, like, to wrap everything around full circle, I was just offering myself. But, like, at the end of the day, I'm here for you. Like, you. Like, no one knows what you're going through but you. But as long as you have someone and feel like you have someone there, that's the role that I'll play.
Yeah.
I'll let everybody else play the other roles.
How do you go about balancing? Because being someone who's available almost as a resource and as a friend, just being genuine to help somebody out. How do you balance being that person and not allowing somebody else's, a toxic habit like an addiction, right, to pull you down? Because people, especially if they're really bad in addiction, it can get to a point where it's like, man, I want to do everything I can to help you. But again, like you said, if you're not going to help yourself, I can't do anything. I'm here for the resources. I'm here as your guide. I'm here to give you love. But at a certain point, I can't do anything. How do you go about riding that line?
Well,
and draw that boundary when they try to, hit you at like, oh, at this time, can I get a ride to this thing? Or, like, because you want to be available.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to enable
exactly
the addiction.
Yeah. No, at some point, I cut things off.
Yeah.
Like, the same time I read the 4 agreements, I also read a book called The 5th Agreement, and it's the level is attachment. So it teaches you that you are not these things. You just have an attachment to these things. And you can replace things with whatever you want to. And that goes with people too. Like, when it comes to anybody or interacting with anything, I have self. I have who I am. I'm not sacrificing myself for anybody else. Like, if I have to go into my cup and dig out pieces of who I am to try to patch you up, I can't do that.
Yeah. I
have to 100% remain myself at all times. And everybody should, because we'll get in relationships, we'll get in friendships, and it'll get manipulative, and we'll start sacrificing ourselves to the point where the relationship will end up breaking or something will fall through, and now you don't know who you are. And it's because you was over
giving. You gave pieces of you, yeah. So those pieces are gone now.
Exactly. Exactly. You should only give if your cup is overflowing. And if your cup is not overflowing, you should not be giving. You should be working and building who you are at the moment. Yeah. So, like, within life, like even my friend I was telling you out in LA, like, not my friend no more, but if some business shit pop off, then I would definitely link everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I don't hold no animosity toward anybody. But as far as the relationship was going, there was not effort being put over here as I was putting effort over there. Like, I'm the one that's like, all right, let's shoot this, let's shoot that. But when it was turned to do it on the opposite route, I wasn't getting that. And it was kind of like that for a while, to the point where it clicked, and it was like, yo, I got to cut this off.
How do you go about doing that in a way where, like you said, you don't strike me as a person that holds any type of animosity, and I can very much see that. How do you go about making that cut in a way that's clean, and you're not causing some sort of, ill will from the other party? Or
that's collateral damage.
Oh, that'll happen. That'll just happen.
Like,
yeah, you just have to accept that.
Like, yeah, and I expect the same thing. Like, if I'm not beneficial to your life and I'm not helping you, cut me the fuck off. Just cut me off, because I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to be a leash to anybody. I feel like all relationships should be, literally all relationships. I don't care if it's like romantic, if it's on a friend level, if it's like
business partnership,
whatever. Anything. You should be feeding each other and like building each other up. It should be this balance of like holding each other accountable and picking each other up and building each other up the entire time, the whole way through. So if it's not going that way, I'm not giving you it, or you're not giving me it, that's just like a cesspool for shit to go bad at that moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, cut it off.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you, I watch anime, so like, you know,
Yeah.
I put myself in that mode, and it's like, boom. I don't know if you ever seen Demon Slayer.
I haven't. I've heard good things though. I've heard good things.
So the main character, Tanjiro, he thinks he's in the middle of a fight, but he would have the same thoughts that I would have. Like he was fighting this demon and his sister, and he said, this could be me. And it's like, I would have those same exact thoughts in the middle of an intense moment. But he stick to the plan. It's like, okay, I still have to do this no matter what. So it's like same thing in life.
Yeah.
If I have to, I have to. No hard feelings.
And that comes back to the not taking it personally thing. Where
Yeah.
If they don't want to, you know, if they're gonna hold animosity towards you because you're making that cut, nothing you can do about it.
I shouldn't take it personal that they taking it personal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, true. Very true. That's a great way to put it. You mentioned not like someone should not be giving unless their cup is already overflowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How, like, at what time, because I mentioned, you know, when I was introducing you that you're over on TikTok, you're giving free game away, you're telling people like what they can do to get better, as well as you also are the captain of the Eye of Overview Academy, that's your program, correct?
Yes.
So like you have these things where you are giving back. At what point did you decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to start sharing this with people online and trying to help as many people as I can?
It was I literally started like last year. It's the hardest thing for me to fucking do.
Why was it so hard?
Stepping into my truth. That's what it was. It's like I was raised up Christian, and doing this felt so fucking right. Like helping people, like true spirituality. It was hard for me to step into it. So like I went through like a long time of like just meditating and contemplation on, okay, I should do this. But like,
what were you nervous about?
Literally speaking my truth.
Why? Why do you think that was?
Because it's like, grew up, I was shut down.
You were told to keep everything.
You know what I mean?
So
yeah.
You felt like you weren't, did you maybe think that the things you wanted to help people with weren't of value?
It wasn't that, because like, I would notice this same type of feeling throughout school. The teacher would ask questions and shit. I got the fucking answer, but I was scared to fucking say it every single time. Like I knew that, and part of me wanted to say it, but it just wouldn't come out. Yeah, it just wouldn't come out. So during my time at real estate is when I took that. It all really kicked off February of last year. I uploaded my first TikTok. Not my first TikTok, but the first TikTok that was geared toward this spiritual growth and like mindset growth. It was like, I literally was like, you know what? I programmed myself to say I'm a TikToker. It sounded childish as hell at first when I said it, but I said I got to get in the method of saying I'm a TikToker. I'm a TikToker. Yeah. And like believing that. So when I look in the mirror, I say, oh, that's the TikToker. So with that being said, I started just giving out these like mental tips that I was doing to help me overcome things, because even up to getting to real estate, I had to overcome a lot of fucking mental shit. Yeah. And I realized I had to overcome a lot of mental shit.
What was something maybe that was specifically, other than not being able to speak up, that was really plaguing your mind?
Not doing what I wanted to do because I was black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned it before we went live about the piercings.
Uh-huh. Okay. So like I grew up in this small town called Carroll, Illinois. Like majority of the people that I remember was black people. So I was there for 12 years, moved to Ohio for about 4 years, and there was predominantly white people. And then moved to Beloit. It was like the first time like I ever seen like a lot of Mexicans here. So I had like this culture shock, right? 3 different cultures. I didn't feel like I fully fit into any of them, because the things that I wanted to do, the things that I was into, like black people don't do this. And I've heard this. Like this is common knowledge. Yeah. Everybody say, well, what you doing that? Black people do that. We don't do that. And it really fucking stuck with me. It was crazy how much it did. Yeah. to the point where I had these little moments where I said, okay, now I can be myself, like getting my eyebrow pierced. And it was the hardest fucking thing for me to do. Like for me to walk up and like.
And book the appointment, pay, get
not
that done.
that point, just showing myself afterwards.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Wow. When you're sitting there looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I did it. I got the piercings right here. Do you feel like a power in that moment? Is that
Love
empowering?
that shit.
Like, dude, like I can fucking do this. I just did it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go fucking do it again. You know, I'm gonna do whatever this next thing is.
Uh-huh.
You have that moment?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where all of this is.
That's where you got all the rest.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Even
very
the
cool.
fucking hat. Like, gee, when I was in the dream and I felt I had this on, I've had it on all day. I went to the gym, worked out with this motherfucker on, and it makes me feel powerful. Makes me feel like the world is my fucking oyster.
Yeah.
Which it kind of is. Everybody's world is their oyster. Like the shit that you've created here. Like this is your world that you've created. It's just fucking dope.
Thank you. Yeah.
And like this is truly you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So with all that being said, it's like, what's the point of living? Like, what's the point of being in this world? Not in no spiritual sense, just like in a general sense. It's probably to make a living, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, hopefully be happy. I would hope.
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm glad you said that. That's what I was leading into. Happy and make a living. If this is not the fucking time where you can do both, this is it here now. Like you can be yourself and you can make a living.
Mm-hmm.
The living part gonna come. Put more emphasis on being yourself.
Yeah.
Because confidence runs every fucking thing.
Yeah, you know, I think that too. I think respect, maybe self-respect too, you know, because that's something that I know I struggle with self-respect, where it's like, man, like I have to hype myself up, remind myself, like, dude, you're doing these things. Like you're not at whatever destination yet, but man, you're doing these things. You got to give yourself credit. I get lost in it sometimes, and it's hard to do that. And then I feel like I'll let people walk over me or something like that, and it bothers me. But I think, you know, in this, especially right now with social media and everything, in the last couple of years with the way, you know, the world kind of changed with the pandemic for a little while, I think a lot of people are trying to become more in tune with themselves because they realize, like, this shit, it ain't all about money, dude.
Nah.
Like, it really ain't. Like, it's like the job, like you just said, it's going to come, but like, you got to love you. And I think a lot of people maybe realized it's not that more people are depressed now or anxiety ridden. I think it's that more of us had a second to be like, shit, I do got this trauma I need to figure out. I do got these things I need to get past. I need to start respecting myself, and then I'll worry about a job. Fuck, you know, if you guys aren't going to pay me a livable wage, if you guys aren't going to do these other things, man, at least I want to like myself. You know?
Exactly.
So it's I think that's something that a lot of people started to figure out. We got some comments here. It says, Rita says, what is your program? Do you want to get into that? I'm curious to know as well.
So I can get into it. So the I have overview. So put it like this. I wish I had pull my phone out and show you the logo. So we are on 3 journeys simultaneously at the same time, every single one of us. You're on a journey of your body, like you're living in this physical world, this life, like what they say, life expectancy is like 75 years. So this is a journey within itself. So learn the way your body works, learn the way that you feel, learn the way to control the way you feel in this journey. The second journey that we are on is the journey of the mind. And with the journey of the mind, it's about gaining knowledge, seeking the knowledge that you didn't have about yourself. Because once you start to get the knowledge of yourself, you get to find yourself, which takes me to the third journey, which is the journey of your soul. Like everybody, like this life force energy, the way you're controlling this body, the way that you can be here and perceive everything that's going on. This is your soul. Your soul can never die and can never be born. It just always is. Back with what, physics or chemistry?
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Yeah.
That's the same thing. That's it right there.
Souls are the same way.
So we're on all 3 of these journeys at the same time. Now, depending on your own unique life situations, they're gonna go through all three of these journeys. They gotta go through it. You're gonna go through it physically. You're gonna go through it mentally, and your soul is gonna experience what you are going through.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, there's a link within every single person that can find that sweet spot between the mind, the body, and soul, where they can find their happiness and find themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do at the Eye of Overview is I guide you there. I'll show you how to unlock yourself through the knowledge of the chakras, and using the chakras to going through your past events, your current events, and understanding how to process them. So when you see these future events, you know how to overcome them.
Yeah.
And the reason it's called the Eye of Overview is because if we look at our situations from an overview perspective, like a bird's eye view,
You zoom out a little bit.
yeah, guess who can see all the perspectives? You can see every angle and which way you need to move and maneuver. And just like being up there, you can also drop down to the ground level where you are experiencing it and can see it from a ground level perspective. Like, let's say you're going through a situation and it pissing you off. When you pissed off, you can only see from the lens of being pissed off. So every perspective that you have is going to be a pissed off perspective.
Yeah.
You know, you might have a different outcome, but the outcome ain't going to help you because it's still from the way of being pissed off.
Yeah.
Remove yourself from it. Have an eye of overview. Look at it from a higher point of view. So then you can look at it from a higher point of view and you can see around the situation. It's like, oh, so if I look at it from this side angle, because every situation is a perspective of lenses of looking at it, let me look at it from the side, from a more calm perspective. Now let me drop down into there. Now I can see how I need to maneuver through this situation. Mm-hmm. Now, since in a calm state now, I can see the calm perspective. I can remember not to take things personal.
Yeah. How do people work on navigating that then on their own? Obviously, through your course, it seems, or is it, what would you call it? A course or what kind of program would you call it?
So it's an academy.
It's an academy. Okay, it's
yeah,
an academy.
yeah.
Okay, very cool. So is it like a monthly thing? Is it something that people, there's like a set time frame that people do? You do it from this time to this time, and you'll start to have some of the tools.
See the subscription based, or you could pay it like a one-time fee and have unlimited access to it forever. It's like there's a lot of different components to it. So like there's a piece of it like where I'm always going to be uploading things that that I know that may not be in the courses. So we have specific courses that helps you understand yourself, because the way to your happiness, the way to everything is through understanding. Like every single situation, the reason you have a negative perspective of it is because you choose not to understand it from a different perspective.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I could see that. How do people, or how can someone, without getting into everything in the course, because how can people start to develop the tools to see things that way, to not take, not want to headbutt the computer because it's broken and it's a $1,400 computer and there's another $5,000 worth of equipment plugged into it and it's not working? How does that person, I don't know who I'm talking about, how does that person not want to put their head through the screen in the computer before they go live on the podcast?
Yeah. One thing you could do is walk away.
Okay.
Just walk away as far as you can until you calm down. That's one thing, like, cause
go for a walk.
I get pissed off sometimes too. Like yesterday I was getting really pissed. Put my hands together. I like to tap my fingers together, and if I focus on the touch of my fingers coming together, then it takes my mind off of whatever I'm being pissed off about.
Interesting. You don't strike me as an angry guy.
Oh, I mean, shit.
So obviously, like, now, like, you've been, I think we were talking, I don't think we said this on air, but we were talking off air, and it's been about like 10 years that you've been kind of on like a spiritual journey, and you kind of started realizing what you're doing and how you're handling things. Prior to that, were you like, what was like something, were you like a really angry person?
I was reckless.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
in what ways were you reckless, and how did maybe this stuff and realizing what you were doing in a positive way. Like, how did you transition? What were you doing, and how did you get to here? How did you become captain?
So to keep it short, like I was probably out here like slapping people and like fighting people and like
Okay.
all that type of shit.
You was violent with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You're not no
Like-
no. I know you from Ty. Big Ty
Uh-huh.
is who introduced me to your stuff. Now you mentioned you guys met playing basketball and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that. Were you trash talker, like big,
I'm always
bumping people?
always a trash talker.
Even now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I have many different sides of me.
As we all
and
do, I feel like.
Yeah,
right?
so majority of the time I'm like in a mostly calm state. You put me on the court, you put me anywhere in a physical environment, it's like a fire light up under my ass. Like I'm in there. I'm very competitive.
Okay.
Like insanely competitive.
Is that an outlet for you too, that maybe helps you stay calm the rest of the time?
Nah.
No, not
Nah.
really? Okay.
Nah.
For me, it is. It definitely is for me. 'Cause-
You know, it's definitely a stress reliever.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
think
Like if
that's
I
maybe
have a
what it is.
long ass day and I was to go to the Y and see everybody hooping, instantly it's like everything is just gone and like I'm just in this basketball
you
head.
just focus on being competitive in
Yeah.
that moment, winning that game.
Because I'm not angry. I'm not even angry playing basketball, but I love to talk shit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't get I don't get
I like it
angry
too.
often. So like, but when I do I feel like everybody have their moments of anger, and if I do get angry, yeah, it's more so the tapping of the hands. But hell yeah, I get angry. Like I can't help not to. But what I've learned to do is separate myself from the anger. So like, listen to this. You don't have to have an emotional attachment to the emotion that you are experiencing.
Okay. Explain that.
So like, you don't gotta be pissed that you're pissed. So put it like this.
That's just I think I know maybe what you're. So it's almost the same way people separate negative thoughts from you. Like that's a thought you had. That's not you. Is that kind of what you're getting at? Where it's the
Yeah,
same thing.
sorta
It's like
like
you
that.
felt angry, but you felt that. Felt that's a thing that you felt. There's a bridge there. Feeling anger, feeling
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Get rid of you're still here. You're not anger. Is that kind of
Yeah.
okay?
It's essentially like that. So like, I'm pissed. Like I'm experiencing pissed off. But like you said, there's a bridge there. I like to look at it more as like you ever seen fucking like a Jello? And like some would go into it, but like it'll get stuck a long way. So like that's what I like to see it as. Like someone would piss me off, right? Anger would come in. So that anger fucking hits. It hits like a fucking boom. So as it's hitting and it hits that Jello, it's coming, but it's slowing down. And now I have this certain amount of time where I need to realize that I'm experiencing anger and I have this separation where I don't have to be angry to it. So then I can calm myself down. But if I miss that little pool, that little spot of it reaching me, and like I don't realize that I'm not angry, then I'm angry. Like I'm caught in it, and now it's like me working backwards to calm myself down.
Yeah, it almost you have like there's a time frame where you can try to just validate the feeling and be like, this is what this is. We don't need to whatever, and if you don't, then it can snowball and get worse. Okay.
Yeah. So like even sometimes if I'll have like a really bad day, let's say like shit really fucked up, it's like I'll just stop majority of the things that I can stop, and I call it going into the lab. Like if I'm having a real negative day and like my mind's just racing, we go into the fucking lab.
What's the
and
lab
for
you?
each negative thought that pops up, I shoot a positive thought. Almost like I forget whatever math thing, but it was like you cancel out both sides.
Yeah.
You
You got to keep the equation equal. That's algebra.
Yeah. So it's like, call it fucking mental algebra then. So like each negative thought that comes up, positive thought. And at first you don't feel power with those positive thoughts. It's almost like you trying to get hot on the court. So you just throwing up them shots. But each one, keep doing it. And then at some point you're like 500.
Yeah.
Now you can still feel the negative thoughts, but you can still feel like the positiveness coming in there. Keep hammering away until the point where now you sustaining something positive more so than that negative thought.
Almost becomes a habit at
Uh-huh.
that point. That's interesting. That's kind of a book I read later last year was Atomic Habits, and that was it's all about like the art of showing up, and for me, something I really wanted to get into around that time was reading. I wanted to read every night, and just start reading more books. And they talk about in that book making it as stupid and as easy as possible. So it's like, dude, even if you only just open the book and read one page to start, doing that, and as opposed to not reading for 4 days and then coming and trying to read a whole chapter when you get time, is going to actually build that habit. And eventually, you're going to sit down and be like, I'm gonna read the whole chapter today, or I'm gonna read 20 pages today, or whatever it is. And it kind of seems like a similar thing where it's like if you can just, it's gonna feel like you're kind of forcing yourself at 1st. You're just jacking those shots up. No, I am this person. I am this thing, or this positive thing is in my life. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
just with those Atomic Habits, like I applied that. I don't know if you ever know that I did a handstand journey.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like if you go to my Instagram, I did handstands for 4.5 years every single day, and I would post one on social media. End up like getting on like the news for this shit and everything.
Okay,
it was
very
fucking
cool.
dope. Yeah. So but I made a commitment to myself. I said, you know what? I really want to learn how to do handstands, but I don't have the ability right now to dedicate a bunch of fucking time to it. I said, I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do one a day. Just one. I don't give a fuck. I'm just do literally one. If I have more time, I'm gonna spend 3 minutes doing it. But if I don't, I'm gonna do fucking one. And I did it for 4.5 years. And it taught me so much about consistency. Just the fact of showing up. Like, I even got a vasectomy. And like the same day, I still did my handstand.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How did that one feel?
It didn't feel too good, but like.
But you did it.
I did.
Yeah.
And it was just like showing up.
That's
literally,
crazy.
I'm just gonna show up. And it wasn't too big where I had to show up a lot. It was just something minor of doing it one a day. And like just go up for a second. Like after my vasectomy, I'm like against the car and shit. But like but like I showed up for today. And it got to the point where I got even more serious with showing up like literally for that one handstand, to the point where I was working on a film set, and that's like fucking 13-hour days.
Yeah.
And like I told them, I'm like, I'll lead a set right now if like we're not out of here in time so I can get this one handstand.
Yeah.
Like I was willing to throw away money and everything just for this simple thing. And like, like it goes back to that consistency and just showing up for yourself.
Yeah. And I think the thing with with consistency and why it's so powerful is because it kind of just, you're programming yourself to be that person that you want to be. Like whatever version of you that you see in 6 months, that like this magical guy that can do a handstand for this long or whatever, you're like, okay, well that guy probably does handstands all the fucking time. So maybe I'm not there yet, but if I can do one every day and just make time to just try to do one, that's going to go a long way. In 4 years, you said? 4.5 years?
It took me like crazy. So many different fucking places. Like I was in
crazy.
the middle of, I did one in the middle of the Madison football stadium.
Oh, Camp Randall?
Is that what it's called? Is that what it is?
That's what it's called, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like just be like simple shit. Just take you so many places.
Yeah.
And like the craziest thing, like just not defer, but like being spontaneous. Being spontaneous is like gold for your life. It's like we can't control shit. Like we can't control life events. Why not do that same thing, but be proactive with it? So like if you have an idea, or like you have like, oh, I think we should go here, think we should do something, jump on that shit and do it, and watch what you gain from that and what you experience.
Yeah, and I think like you said, how we can't control things. I feel like being spontaneous or trying to like just do so, you're like, you know what, I have this thought, I'm going to act on it right now. I feel like that gives you some level of control, you know, where you're tapping into whatever. I'm not super deep into spiritual stuff. I haven't gone I've read a few books on it. I think it's really interesting, but I feel like when you're being spontaneous, when you're following whatever your intuition is, that's when you're tapping into whatever the universe is, you know, like that's when you're like, okay, I am me at my most pure state is when I'm just doing the thing I want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not waiting. I'm not like, oh, I'll do it in a week, or I'll do it once I have this thing done, or it's like when you're just like, no, I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
Because I can. Like, I'm gonna go get my piercings done. Like, I'm just gonna do it because I can. It doesn't matter what anybody says.
It's freeing.
Yeah.
It's really freeing. And one thing that I do want to tell people is, like, once you do start like listening to your intuition, you're in the unknown. Like, you're just in this unknown, and it's a very uncomfortable space to be in the unknown, because you don't know what can happen or what won't happen. But allowing yourself to be in this unknown is where the miracles happen. Like, this is where you have those moments of like, wow, we really did it. But it takes you listening to your intuition, not playing it fucking safe, and just saying, this is what I feel, and I'm gonna go off on the whim of my own gut.
Well, yeah, and it makes sense because, like, you have to be comfortable with pushing yourself. I mean, right, we do that in a physical sense when it comes to working out and lifting, right? It's like, if you want to be able, you want your chest to be a little bit bigger, you might have to put the 2.5 extra pounds on each side this week. Like, you might have to do a little bit more. You're not going to be comfortable doing that as you would doing the weight you always do. But doing that's going to get you, or potentially can get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense, being uncomfortable. I saw you talk on one of your TikToks. You were responding to a comment, and I wanted to kind of hear you elaborate on it. Somebody asked you, how can they deal with feeling guilt or shame? And I'm curious, as to someone with the perspective of yours, what are maybe some tools or ways that you would look at dealing with guilt or shame?
So when it comes to guilt, especially like something that I've done in the past, or shame, and I fucking love this because it's fun to think about it in this way too. So, like, let's say you did some fucked up shit and you feel guilt about it, or you're feeling shameful for it. You did the fucked up shit when you didn't know what you knew now. Who you are now wouldn't do that fucked up shit.
That's why you feel guilty.
Yeah, exactly. How can you be mad at that person, your younger self, for doing some shit that you wouldn't do now? So I literally, and I'll go back to like my inner child and like talk to my younger self, and I'll say, hey, I know you didn't understand what you did or what we did, because the same mindset that caused this problem can't be the same mindset that we use to overcome this problem. And with your current knowledge, and whatever you did or whatever we did was feeling guilty for, I can't blame you for the way you processed it. You only processed it the way that you processed it. I'm just glad you made it through.
Yeah.
So since you survived, now with this knowledge that I have now, let's go back and look at it together, and let's reprocess this from a higher place, from this place that I am now, knowing what I know now.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I feel it's interesting, because I think a lot of people, when they do feel guilt or shame, it's because maybe they did something that doesn't align with whatever their perspective is or whatever their values seem to be. And it's interesting you saying that it's, who you are now wouldn't have done that. And I think maybe people are sort of mixing up the two, who they are now and that past person, where it's like, well, I thought, like, let's say, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of a good example of something that I wouldn't like to do. I'm big on honesty and trying to just speak the truth. So if a guest says something that I'm like, well, like, if I don't agree with, I gotta speak up, be like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, let's say I went, like, last week, somebody said something and I didn't agree with it and I didn't say anything. I would be like, damn, I know better. Like, I feel guilty because I wasn't my authentic self, and my audience didn't get to see whatever. How would, in that specific situation, would you go about being like, dude, that was a past you. That's not you now. Even though then I feel like I still should have, like, that version of me still believed that standing up for myself would have been the right thing. How would you, because that's a little muddier then.
Yeah.
Or am I just blending the two?
No, you good. What I like to say is that shit's dead. That past is dead.
Already
you can't go back.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change it. The only thing you can do is if that situation is to arise again, then you step up.
Mm.
Because majority of the time, if you don't overcome a situation, it's bound to show up again. That's
until
why
you learn the lesson. I've heard someone say that too when it comes to like a spiritual sense. It's like it's gonna take however many times, like whatever challenge it is. If your soul or whatever version of you needs to learn that hasn't learned it yet, and you it's gonna keep presenting itself in your life until you pass that.
Yeah, until you gain something that's gonna allow you to overcome it. Even in like your journeys, like even making music or the podcast, you've had to grow and overcome things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you first was met with it, it's like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Yeah.
But it had to take you maybe calling somebody, maybe looking on the internet, growing your knowledge to overcome that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like if you didn't do that, you were still going to keep repeating this situation.
It's gonna happen.
This wasn't going to move forward until you gain some knowledge, until you do something. So like you got to show up for yourself at some point. So if the situation is past, hey, it'll come back again. You can't cry over spoiled milk. Like it's what my coach used to tell me in basketball, because I would miss and I get in my head like, fuck. He like, you can't change that.
That was last play. It's not this play right now.
It's gone. And if we keep focusing on that, we just holding attachments to a situation that we will never, that particular situation that we'll never experience again. Your opportunity will come back around. Just make sure you show up for yourself that time.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And I think it's interesting because on the flip side of that too, I definitely am an anxious person. I've definitely had to deal with anxiety and things like that. And something that's helped me start to see things differently is the perspective of, you know, I'm an overthinker, so I think of all the different ways that this thing could go wrong, whatever thing it is. But when you do that, you know, you're basically, let's say that worst case scenario does happen.
Mm-hmm.
By me sitting there up all night thinking about it 100 different times, I just put myself through it that many more times. And if it was going to happen to me that one worst way, the best thing I could have done would be to not fucking care, not think about it a million times, because it would have only happened to me once then. Not a million times in my head, right? And that's kind of the same thing with the past and sort of the reverse of that, where it's like thing already happened to you once. You're just reliving it now. Like you're just like, okay, you bricked that shot for the game. Are you going to go, your next game starts and you're just going to be like, I'm that player that can't make shots when it counts, and I'm going to suck this whole game because I'm thinking about that. Or are you just going to play this new game because it's a new game?
Exactly.
You know, I think that's interesting, being in now
as
opposed to
living
forward
in the present
or
moment.
backwards.
Yeah.
It's hard. What's sort of maybe anything that's helped you, or maybe a biggest revelation or something of that nature? Live in the moment, live in the now. What's something that's helped you? Realization, or if it was something someone said.
Really noticing how I feel, like listening to how I feel internally when I'm thinking about past situations, or listening to how I feel when I'm like negatively thinking about an outcome of a situation, you know? So like in terms of, so I like to analyze things, because I'm an overthinker too. Like there's in anime, My Hero Academia, you got Deku, and he'll just like analyze
every possible outcome.
Yeah. And that's kind of goes with the eye of overview, you know what I'm saying? Like you see all of it, but like that's just an awareness. I feel like we have the mental power to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, oh, all right. I mean, like reading that book of the attachment book, I don't have to have an attachment to that, but I've seen all the possibilities. Where's the attachment that it needs to be? In this present moment? In this present moment, I'm fine. Now, that is a battle of keeping your mind here, because it will jump into the past. It will jump into the future. It will jump into the things that you're worrying about. But what really helps me is I take time to literally meditate.
How does one meditate? That's something I hear a lot of people. I don't meditate, obviously. I tried it a couple times. I got like an app a while back, and it just wasn't for me. But I'm curious, because I think everybody that talks about it swears by meditation. That does meditate, right? How do you meditate? What form of meditation do you do? And what would you recommend people do, or if they just want to try something?
So the way that I started was the same way I started the handstands. Like this whole consistency thing and doing small. Hell yeah. I would literally meditate for 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 week.
Yeah.
And over the course of like my handstand journey, that's the method I took. Like 1 minute, 1 week, just being quiet, not worrying about nothing. That was cool. It's a win. Everything is a win. Every single thing. I don't care how big or how small it is. If you took a foot forward, that's a fucking win. And I put a lot of fucking emphasis on that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was I going with this? So,
with the meditation.
Yeah, the meditation. So like, yeah. So then over time it would develop into more minutes, more me wanting to experience more. So like then I would go and do guided meditations on YouTube. I found sound bowl meditations. There's these things that in anime, have you ever seen like Naruto and they're like holding up like movers in these things?
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated with these things as kids. And as I was a kid, and I was like, they're doing something. They're definitely on some shit. Yeah. So doing some research, I come to find out that this is they're called mudras, and this is how you channel energy of the body. So like if you was to hold this mudra, it's called like a transformation mudra. You hold it right here, it activates the solar plexus, which I was telling you earlier, and then just cultivate like more willpower and personal power within yourself.
Interesting.
Yeah. So doing that, you'll start to feel things, or you'll start to feel yourself go places, essentially.
So is meditation, and this is maybe I'm going to be again really ignorant here, but again that's what I want to learn, understand, right? The journey is understanding. Is meditation then a form of just focusing your thought in a certain place or with a certain chakra? How would you describe, because a lot of people, myself included, when I'm trying to started trying to meditate, I had this app for a little while. It's like, what am I doing here? Like I have racing thoughts, like you said. You're an overthinker. I overthink as well. So it's like I'm just spending 1 minute or 10 minutes, whatever it is. Now I'm just thinking about all these other things. I'm just closing my eyes. Like how does someone really get into meditating? What is meditating as opposed to just sitting there with my eyes closed?
So that's funny. So right now, what I've been literally meditating on is just sitting there with my eyes closed. But I'll get into the other one more. Yeah, it definitely is a focus. One technique that I love to use is you're sitting there and you have those racing thoughts. Don't react to them. Acknowledge them, thank them for coming, and send them on their way. And visualize it as if like you're sitting on the edge of a river and the thoughts are coming down the river and those racing thoughts come by. Yep, just let it go. You ain't got to be angry at it. You ain't got to react. Just and let it go. And then if you start to practice that, use consistency, after a while, those racing thoughts cease to exist. Because your mind you already acknowledged them. Your mind just wants you to really acknowledge them. So like you acknowledge them, they're gone. Now you start to have these deeper intuitive thoughts. Okay. These thoughts that's more aligned with you. These thoughts that feel like, whoa, like I got these type of ideas in me. And that's just one form of meditation. Another one is, let's say you're closing your eyes, and if you put your awareness right between your brows, like at your third eye chakra, you should feel like a pressure there. And sit there and just focus your conscious there, and then just focus on your breath.
Okay.
And so like what I was saying with me though, right now I've just literally been trying to meditate with sitting there with my eyes closed, for the specific fact that if I can sit here for 20 minutes, because usually when my meditations, like I drift off, like I can tell you like all type of like stories and shit that just happens during my meditations. But I want to sit there with my eyes closed, because if I can focus on nothing, literally nothing for 20 minutes, do you know how much focus they'll give me on everything that I'm working on?
Why is that? Because I hear that all the time, is that a lot of or I hear that when people become closer to enlightened, it's
Uh-huh.
the ability to just be,
Uh-huh.
where you're not focused on anything, like you said, focused on nothing. Why is that so powerful? What is the importance of that, so people can understand, myself included?
Well, take for the things that you do now.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some parts of it that's just so tedious and it's just like,
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you was to learn to focus on nothing, how tedious is that shit? Like if you you
Yeah.
literally learn to focus and just be, when you put that focus, because it's like a skill that you're developing. Everything is a skill. So then you develop this hyper awareness to focus on your things. Now you have more control over your mind. You have more control over the things that you are able to do.
Mm.
And doing meditation also allows you to organize your thoughts
Okay.
to the point where you can see where things should be placed.
Yeah. How so?
And so, like, being scatterbrained, like having all those thoughts popping up, they're everywhere. Once you looked at them and you have acknowledged them, they have a place to be and have a place to go now. They're not racing thoughts anymore because these thoughts have been acknowledged. And whether you need them or don't need them, they are tucked away in wherever they need to be. So like when it comes with meditating sometimes, so I'm gonna tell you how I do with, so you ever been telling a joke and in the middle of the joke you fucking just go blank, and then
Yeah.
like you maybe a day later you like washing dishes, you driving or something, like the joke pops up in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I realized that that's a technique of the brain. And through understanding, your brain works in the background all day long.
Mm.
So like you gave it a command to retrieve this joke. It just couldn't retrieve it at the moment. But while you went on and did everything that you needed to do,
It was still working.
it was still working in the background. So like and I love to do this too, get in a meditative state. Take some time to think about the things that you want to think about. You don't have to look for answers right now. Just think about the things you want to think about.
Yeah.
And then once you're done with that meditation, just go about your day. And then once you're driving, washing dishes, whatever you're doing, boom. It's like dinner is served. You know
Start
what I'm
having
saying?
epiphanies out of nowhere.
Literally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of crazy because I mean, a lot of people that I've looked up to in my life have been really big into meditation. They always talk about it, like even musicians and stuff like that. Mike
Mhm.
Posner, somebody I'm really big into. He's like a motivational speaker now, even,
Uh-huh.
and he's big on silent retreats, meditation, all that stuff. And it's interesting. Everybody's always preaching the importance of it, and it still feels like there's this like veil of shadow over it, where it's like we don't really know, like people that aren't in on it still
Uh-huh.
don't get it, like we're
Right.
like, wait, what's going on? And it's interesting hearing you speak about it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the. This past couple of weeks, I've been taking it really, really serious. Like I've been doing 20-minute, 30-minute meditations every single day, just because now I want to dive more deeper into the like the more subtle awarenesses, like from doing meditation. I've experienced. How to put this? How to put this? I made a whole video about it, and I'm trying to word it the same way that I worded it. Oh fuck it, I can't remember, but I was happy for no reason.
You felt like contentment almost,
Yeah, I was like
but true contentment.
for nothing.
Wow.
Like I was happy for absolutely fucking nothing.
And do you think that's like indirect byproduct of meditation
Yeah.
as heavy as you've been?
Yeah, because if you meditate and then like you're not having no thoughts, you're not experiencing nothing, and you're just being this pure energy at that moment.
Yeah.
That shit feels like happiness for no fucking reason. And experiencing happiness with no attachment, it's like it feels like a light within you.
Yeah, it's almost like at that point you're generating the like electricity of your life in that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're self-sustaining. You don't have to go play basketball to be happy or do a certain thing, because that's attachment, right? You're attaching happiness to the things that you do.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you were just content.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So now, like, don't get me wrong, because I fucking rock with basketball. I love that shit.
Yeah,
so imagine being happy at nothing and then having fun and being happy playing the thing you want to.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because if you were just generally happy, then like if this was your base you, and then now all of a sudden you add this block of, I'm just happy. And then you go do the things that you enjoy. Yeah, that's going to be a very fulfilling life, I imagine. And
then able to remove your attachment when need to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. It's like you said, or how we mentioned earlier, that, we can't control so many things, but in this, you're taking back pieces of control, it seems like, which is powerful. I want to ask you one last question. What is, or maybe what has been something that has been like the hardest thing for you personally to overcome in your own personal development? Because, I mean, you help so many people. I feel like I'm learning a ton just from talking to you. What's something that maybe you've had to overcome that maybe people don't see today because you worked really hard at it?
What I'm still currently working at is expressing myself.
Okay. How so? I feel like you're expressive.
Oh, I am, but there's not even
Okay.
There's not even the tip of the iceberg. Like,
okay,
the way that I truly feel is way bigger than I feel now. Like, I've worked a long time to get to this point, but no, I feel a lot more. So, like, one of the things that I work on is literally sustaining who I am, like being this person. It's like I'll be here remaining myself, but let's say I'll go to sleep, wake up, and I'll just wake up with the judgments of the world, or like feeling the way that society would see me. So like every day it's about showing up and like, let me put this hat on, let me stay true to who I am. So like that's the main battle right now. And like even that comes around in like business sometimes too, because it's like I'm running a business, but like if I'm facing these judgments that these agreements that I've put on myself because of the world, then that stops me from going out here and helping people the way that I know I can.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's something that I feel like a lot of people are probably, maybe they don't even know it, are trying to work on. That's something that I think everybody can. Wanting to be your actual self. Does it take a lot of energy to?
It takes a lot of energy. It's you lose people. It's because when you embracing yourself, the people that you have been around, they only know the old you.
And they were friends with that you. They're not friends with the real.
So like by you embracing yourself, that means you're going through a lot of changes that they may not even rock with. So you got to be willing to let them go too.
Yeah.
And on top of that, not being affected by it or what they may say or what anybody else may say.
Not taking it personally.
Exactly. Exactly.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I really appreciate you for coming on the show. Like, I feel like you've spit some great game for us here today. I hope people got some gems out of this one. We've got a comment here from Logan Rita before we wrap. Everybody has something. Perspective is knowledge, and everybody has their own completely different perspective, which means everyone has their own form of a new knowledge to give you. Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it as well.
That's so true. Can I comment on that real
fast?
Of
Course.
People is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I'll talk to everybody because I can have a 5-second conversation, a 5-minute conversation, and someone have told me something about themselves and something about themselves that I can apply to myself. Like everybody has, that's the whole point of the universe. They say the universe is ever expanding. If everybody is having their own unique experiences and everybody is sharing it, hey, that's a new perspective on looking through something. And if you have a perspective that's not helping you, guess what? Somebody does.
Yeah.
And you can overcome anything just through the knowledge of other people because everybody just repeating something that somebody has already done.
Yeah, no, definitely. and I think that's something that that's why I love doing podcasts specifically, getting to talk with people, because it's just a gaining of perspective.
Yeah.
Whereas I've had people come on that I completely disagree with about certain topics. Sometimes we talk politics, sometimes we talk whatever, comedy, whatever it is. And I've had people come on that I completely disagree with. But I mean, we get an understanding of each other, and that, I feel like that is invaluable. Like, you can't put a price on that.
You can't.
You know, it's there's more wealth in that than any dollar amount, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's important. But I really appreciate you being on the show today. I will link your stuff, and we'll have to send you everything tomorrow and everything like that. But anything else before we end up wrapping the show tonight that you want to let the people at dtalks know, or anybody on YouTube?
Yeah. Always be your unapologetic self. If you can't embrace that yet, start taking the moves to embrace that. Because at your soul level, your soul is already content, your soul is already happy, and your soul is already fulfilled. It's just the fact that we are blocking our souls from being free because of the judgments that we place on ourselves because of whatever reasons.
That's a beautiful thing, man. Thank you again for being on. I want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in here live tonight. Thank you to those watching or listening days after on YouTube or Spotify. Also want to say a quick shout out to our patrons. They should be up on the screen right now. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel, getting access to behind the scenes content for music videos, how I mix and master every single one of my songs, as well as exclusive podcasts, behind the scenes stuff for basketball footage, all that good stuff, consider going over to patreon.com/DarrenRita, and you can support the channel for as little as $1. We really appreciate everybody that does that over there. Also want to say shout out to Kenosha Auto Insurance for sponsoring this episode. And one last time, so that the people know, what's your handle on social media so that they can go follow you?
TikTok, Captain LawSolace. Instagram, Captain LawSolace. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect, man. That's awesome. Yeah, so you got the uniformity across all of it, which is awesome. So yeah, go check his stuff out. We'll have it all linked tomorrow for those that are watching then. But yeah, this has been the 145th episode of the dtalks podcast. I'll see you guys